my clients. This young 15-year-old came into my office, and he had a can of Mountain Dew with him. And he asked me very, very sincerely. Part of my, I'm going to back up, my background has been a nutritionist for many years. Some people, got all these master words. You know, there's Reiki masters. I've been called a master herbalist. One of the schools, Dr. Christopher's School of Herbology. Actually, I may not have gotten that right, but Dr. Christopher's School. I took almost all of the classes, and then I do what they call nutritional microscopy, which is I get to be a big prick, which is kind of fun. And what I mean by that is I take a drop of blood, okay, and I put it on a screen, and the microscope's right over there. Then I get to put it on a video machine, and I'm going to show you some people's blood and how nutrition affects it immensely. I mean, we all know that if we do good things should happen, right? But we don't really understand if we do a couple bad things in succession, it's not that big a deal. But if you continually make it a habitual, it may not be so great. So I'll go back to my 15-year-old, and his name is Ryan, and the fun thing is Ryan now is 22. Well, oh my gosh, he's 21. So it was quite a few years ago. Kind of interesting. And Ryan was driving in South Dakota at 15, so he brought his own way, and he sincerely said, "Is this Mountain Dew good for me?" So the nutritionist in me, would love to go, "No, it's horrible!" But is that going to help somebody who's drinking pop? Realistically, no. But I opened the can of pop, and I went, psh, and then I had this beautiful cane plant, which is about that tall next to me. Now, Ryan's background is he cuts lawns for a living, and his father has a greenhouse that I helped him build. So I thought I was going to work out okay. So I took the glass or the can, and I'm ready to pour it on the plant. And he goes, "No! You can't do that!" I said, "Well, why not? If it's good for you, it's good for the plant." He goes, "No!" Does that feel good, the thought about putting a can of pop on a plant? Does it? Anybody here? Anybody here thinks it's like cool? No, it doesn't feel very good. Well, how come it's so, it doesn't feel good for the plant, but it's okay to drink one yourself? Right? Kind of weird, right? So, so he stopped me, thank God, because I didn't know if I was going to really put it on the plant or not. And because I'm not going to kill my cane plant, which did die later. And the funny thing was, I said, "Well, Ryan, how many cans of pop do you drink a day?" He goes, "Well, 1, 2, about 5. I said, "Wow, interesting. If I got this beautiful big cane plant, and I'm putting 5 cans of pop on it per day, how long do you think it take before it croaks?" Anybody got ideas?
About a day.
A week.
Yeah, about 3 to 5 days before it really starts turning really ruddy brown, But it's going to die. Why does it die?
Too much liquid.
Well, it could be.
Too much sugar.
Too much sugar. Isn't that interesting? And it's true. Now, the thing that I asked him, I said, "Now the dead plant is here with the cane in it. What am I going to do? What's going to grow in that beautiful container of rotting..." Well, I gave it away. What's going to grow in that container now?
Oh.
Go ahead.
Fungus.
What? Did someone tell you the answers before you got here?
Yep.
No. What do you mean, me?
He's just a smart guy.
You're awesome! It's exactly it. What loves sugar? Fungus, yeast. They love it. They love it. They love it. They also like dead meat, too. But that's another story. But thank you. You're perfect. It's going to grow. Now, do you think fungus? And I asked him, he goes, "Well, I don't know." I said, "Well, what grows on your submarine sandwich when it's in your dorm room a little bit too long?" Now that he's in college, I could say that. And he goes, "Oh, that green stuff, Well, what, meat, yeast, and mold is going to grow on that thing. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think it's going to smell really good, or do you think it's just going to be beautiful? Any other answers? Go ahead. It's going to smell rotten, right? And then I asked him, I said, "Do you pass wind, Ryan?" He goes, "Oh, boy, when I fart, the whole room clears out." And I said, "Oh, well, just remember that, because we're going to go a little further, and we're going to find out about this." So then I said, "We're going to do your blood now, Ryan. And I'm going to take a drop of blood, put it on the screen, and this is about what it looks like." And you guys ready for... I don't know if you can get this. This would be kind of cool. Because what else is going to grow in there isn't just some yeast, it's also some bacteria. And the bacteria really stinks. And the byproducts of that bacteria isn't really cool for our bodies. And in fact, if you want to have fuzzy heads, you don't want to feel really good about yourself, and you want to sleep a lot, this kind of bacteria is the kind of stuff you want to have. So let me share with you a little bit. This is red blood cells. Now, do you see these lines in here? These lines are liver damage. But you see all this stuff that looks like, what does it look like? It looks like little flies and stuff, right? That's undigested proteins and fats.
This is in the blood.
This is in the blood.
There are
Now,
lines
this
of
stuff right
fish
here, right in here, that is the fungus that was growing in this person's blood because they're not breaking their sugars down too well.
Now, what could you say a little bit more about the liver damage? What are those?
Well, in this case, these are called spicules. They are platelets which have mutated, giving the appearance of cracked glass. And the problem with that is that really what it is, it's inflammation. The liver can't break those proteins down, including its own. So what occurs, it becomes like a spider web. It's like creaky, people who have that kind of walk like this, like, I gotta get the cobwebs out of me. Well, literally, that's kind of what's going on. So in here, these little white things in here, that's the fungus. And then you're going to see some nasty, nasty bacteria. And I'm also going to show you how blood can actually change very, very quickly. So the other thing I asked Ryan, I said, Ryan, now that we know about the 5 pop a day thing in this dead plant, how are we going to clear it up? How are we going to make that soil right? How are we going to make everything right in it? Anybody got any ideas? This guy's awesome. You're a nutritionist? Go ahead.
You could stop, you could like cut down the pop, or you could just wait for a while. And
Right. So just cut it out all the way. So we're not going to put any more sugar stuff on it, right? Well, don't you think we should pop the cork? Someone said there's going to be too much water in that container. Pop the cork out, and then what? Let it drain? Does that sound like a good idea?
Flush
Yeah.
the system.
Hey, do you think we should put more water in to flush it? Does that sound like a good idea?
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say that flaxseed oil kills our oil.
Well, that could be good, but that's good for some other reasons. But you're awesome. You're right on the money. The other thing we're going to do is pop the cork out and let it flow out. And then the other thing is why not let some other bacteria, which their byproducts are B vitamins, put those in there. And when they ferment or when they break things down, their byproducts actually can provide you with a clear head instead of a fuzzy head, the kind that the fungus is. Does that sound like a pretty good idea? That's called inoculating with good soil bacteria. The other thing is, if it's really bad, we might have to just put some whole new soil in there. Okay? Could be. So I asked Ryan what he would do. He goes, and then I asked Ryan, I said, Ryan, we can pop the cork, because this is, a big container out. Let me ask you about the cork that might be in your body. Anybody know what the cork is in your body?
Kidneys.
Huh?
Kidneys and colon.
Kidneys and colon. So I asked him, I said, so how often, poopy subject here, how often do you poop? He goes, oh, well, about once every other day. I said, oh, baby. Because ideally, if you did your dishes once every other day, do you think you'd have a lot of dishes stockpiled in your little dish drain?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Well, we only have an infinite, don't look at me, only an infinite amount of space, a finite amount of space in us. And literally, every time you ingest a meal, your body will then make room and move out on one of the meals in the track, down the track. So what that means is in an ideal body, which a few of us might or may not have, actually no one here because you're in the class, no, I'm kidding. That means you should be pooping 30 minutes to an hour after every meal to make room for the next meal to come. The other thing is we kind of want to eliminate first thing in the morning. Now, most of us are pretty good at that. But we need things to add to our bodies to do that. And one of the biggest ones is coffee! Coffee is a bitter. And what it does is it stimulates the gallbladder and stuff to kind of massage do its thing. So immediately you kind of have a little movement. Or hopefully a big movement. Or an ugly movement. Or just a movement. And the other thing, too, is before you go to bed, isn't it nice to do your dishes for the next day? Isn't it kind of cool to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So ideally, believe it or not, if you eat 3 meals a day, you should be pooping 3 to 5 times a day. Anybody here do that?
Do we count?
Well, whatever. I want to know if that's what the body is. Where does the poop go when it doesn't go out? That's what I want to know. And actually, the worst I've ever seen was a young, actually not a young man, and the skinniest man I ever met. It was so interesting. I could smell his breath 18 feet away. Okay, and he wondered what was going on. I said, "The sewer is backed up." The sewer. And I said, "When you talk to me, move your head this way." I mean, it was disgusting. I mean, really. So if it doesn't go south, it goes north, right? We all know that. It's pretty easy. You know, this is not rocket science here. So, you know, it is kind of fun. And it was so interesting because I put him on some specialized bowel cleanse. One of the people here is on it. Affectionately, we call it the mud. and it's this black stuff. And what it does is it breaks through all the mucosal lining and all the stuff in there. And literally, he did, his daughter put him on 3 times as much as we suggested. He calls up about a day. I've been on the toilet for 5 hours, you know. And you look and he was a skinny little runt, you know. But his breath smelled better a week later, though, you know. So, or I didn't smell it anymore. I don't know what it was. But it was interesting how much that it just kept on coming up. Anybody here remember the old glue containers? And you try and clean the glue containers, you swear to God, it just keeps on coming out. It keeps on coming out. You're like, it's just a little bit of glue. But by the way, it's kind of fun. How many here have done diapers for little babies? Right? How can something that eats so little poop so much? Right? I mean, ideally. I mean, now think about that. How can we eat so much and poop so little? This is, to me, God's little quirk. And actually, that's what we should be doing, is pooping like the baby. A little bit poops a lot, and that's the best way. Now, the other fun thing with babies is if they're breastfed, does the poop stink? No, it actually doesn't smell so awful. It's kind of bizarre, isn't it? You know. But as soon as you feed him or her food, and it's so fun when we do this, you know, you get some apple, whatever, what do they call it? Baby apple sauce, right? That's been cooked, right? So it doesn't have any of the enzymes, doesn't have any of the good stuff in it that help break itself down. You shove it in their little mouth. What does the kid do? He shoves it back out. And then you go, well, I'm going to shove it back in. And what does the little kid do? He shoves it back out. And then you're back and forth, and finally about the 6th time the kid goes, come on, Dad, you've done this. These are your kids, right? Mm-hmm. You've shoved it how many times? And they finally say, okay, I lose it. And guess what happens their next bowel movement? It stinks. The kid knows. The baby knows. This is rotted, horrible stuff. It ain't life-producing, and I don't want to have it, and I'm going to puke on you if you don't like it. You know? And it's true, and it's funny. Now, if you take some wonderful apples, you know, that are fresh, and you grind them up and make applesauce that way, the kid will usually have no problem breaking it down. None.